I'm not going back and forth with a man who thinks that they should be in my position. If you want to be in my position, get in my position.
Do you believe that?
Bluff City Media presents The Anthony Sain Show on YouTube at Bluff City Media. Stepping up to the microphone is your host, Anthony Sain.
Acknowledge me.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Anthony Sain Show. This, of course, is your host, Anthony Sain, here at the Bluff City Media Studios. My boy, Kenny Stubblefield, behind the glass. Kenny, what's going on, my brother?
My brother, how are you, man?
Man, got my man Shawn Coleman coming in today for the Sit Down with Sain. Excited about that.
Gonna be a good interview.
Man, me and Shawn been talking shit to each other so long. I done seen it. Like, he be busting me out of the games, locker room. I like, all right, bro, I'm about to get on your ass.
Yeah,
so
man, I'm pissed off you brought him in here, man. This man,
yeah,
this man gets on my ass all the time,
man.
I
Discord.
don't like that dude.
I always got something to say, man. Long time guy in this media game. My guy Shawn Coleman gonna come in and join us for the Sit Down with Sain. A lot of stuff going on in the world of sports, man. Isaiah Stewart, I just punching the shit out of folks, man. Just punching the shit out of folks. You know what I mean? We're gonna talk about that.
Just punching folks.
Yeah, talking about an awesome feat that's about to be accomplished by Caitlin Clark. We're gonna talk about that later on today, as well as the return of a video game that's been gone for a long time. Kenny Stubblefield, we're going to talk about that, as well as something that's been on your boy mind, man. Just a random, this is a true inside the same brain random thought that crossed my mind today. We're going to talk about that today for Inside the Same Brain. But Kenny, since the last time we talked, oh, what a glorious day Wednesday night was, Kenny Stubblefield. Dylan Brooks brought that ass back to FedEx Forum. Last time we saw our good friend Dylan Brooks, he was knocking down a three-pointer late in the game. That sealed the deal, man. Got us the hell up out of there. Beat us in our own gym. Beat us in our own game with using our own controller. If you go back to video game days, they used to suck, man. You invite one of your buddies over to play a game. He beat you at your house on your game using your controllers, man. That was the most disrespectful thing to do. And that's what Dylan Brooks did the last time we saw him. He hit a three-pointer, hit a couple three-pointers late in the game the other night that didn't mean the absolute thing. The Grizzlies got the victory against Houston Rockets last night. A game that doesn't mean anything for the Grizzlies, a team who is hanging around that 6th, 7th place spot in the reverse NBA standings. If you go to tankathon.com, you can check those out, the reverse NBA standings. A game that really mean much as far as that's concerned. But it's always good to get a W, and it's definitely good to get one against our good friend Dylan Brooks, who looked horrible for most of that game.
Just didn't look good.
Hey,
he looked like Dylan Brooks he looked like the Dylan Brooks that pissed every Memphis fan off for years.
Yeah, and there was a guy on Twitter who's kind of the big dog over there. Our good friend, Bluff City Media contributor, Chris Ingram, did a podcast with a guy over there that's a Houston fan. His name is Bias Rockets or Bias Houston or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's the guy his name is Bias Houston, at Bias Houston on Twitter. And he hosts the Twitter Spaces over there for the Houston community. He's got a huge following. He's a podcaster, about 35,000 followers over there, doing big things. Man, he was going in. He was going in.
Yes, he was.
On Dylan Brooks. I shared the clip of it. Man, those guys are over it. He was like, man, I knew when I heard the murmurings about Dylan Brooks that I did not want that dude on my team. I saw him lose games for the Grizzlies in the playoffs. I saw him shoot the Grizzlies out of games. And he said, man, y'all see it. Y'all see what I saw now, man, out of Dylan Brooks. And it's funny because I'm the guy who was on here saying, Dylan Brooks is the reason why I don't trust Taylor Jenkins, right? Hey, Taylor Jenkins, hey, I'm back.
You apologize? Can we
apologize? Because Dylan, man, hey, the expiration date, man, he is past it. You were drinking sour milk over there in Houston, man.
This man was talking about Ime just coming in and saying all he had to say was bruh.
Hey, I mean, you don't get back on these hoes, I believe.
He's checked out, man.
Hey, he's all right.
He hates that team so much.
Yeah, he's like, all right, these dudes are bums. These dudes are bums for real. Like,
I went from coaching Boston with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to coaching.
I got Jalen Green out here getting old women pregnant. Dudes getting 40-year-old women pregnant there. All right, man, get these screwballs away from me, man. Like, at least I'm using rubbers on these hoes. Hell is this? This is my star player. What the hell is he doing? Like, I'm banging Halle Berry and the boss's wife. Like, what is this dude out here getting pregnant, getting 40-year-old chicks pregnant, man? But yeah, shout out to LIU Udoka, man. Yeah, that team is really kind of coming back down to earth. As many people thought they would, including myself. I'm not really sure what Ime Udoka is. Like, I think he's a good coach. I think he's better than I thought he was coming into the season. But I don't think he's a top-tier coach, so to speak. But it's kind of hard to go from that Boston team that's a well-oiled machine to go into this Houston team that's just full of weirdos. And I'm so sick I'm so sick every draft, man. Oh, Houston, they stole the draft. Okay, where's the product? Those guys they've won like 5 more games than us. Like, where's the proof in the pudding of all these draft picks? Because every year, man, you hear in the draft, oh man, Houston just came away with a haul, man. They just got a haul in the draft.
What are your thoughts on Jabari? What are your thoughts on Jabari?
I'm not really sure what he is.
I don't know what he is either.
I'm not really sure what he is for them. They've got a ton of talent. They got picked up Cam Whitmore. They got Amen Thompson this year. They've got a kid.
Amen Thompson is nice.
Those two, those kids' dad did some real prime pumping when he pumped out those dudes, man. Because both of those dudes can hoop for sure, man. They have an old school game. Both of them have old school games, but they're really good, man. They're really good. Houston team, they're fine. I think they've got kind of just a lot of, and we talk about this a lot. We talked about this in the premium Discord today, which you can join for $4.99 as well.
Let's go.
You can also join the Anthony Sain Show Discord. If you're a fan of this show and you want to talk to me, like straight to me about whatever, that's how you do it. Join the Discord. Jump inside the Anthony Sain group. We're trying to get that going. You can spark some conversations. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about in that Anthony Sain Discord, which is one of the subgroups of the Bluff City Media Discord. But something we talked about in there was, I don't know what I was saying. Don't worry about it. Join it. Because I forgot now. But, yeah, we were talking something about something. But, yeah, man, it was just good to see the Grizzlies get that win. Dylan Brooks, like I said, was in town. And it's just crazy, man. It's like, I remember I came on here a few weeks ago. I was like, man, Vince is obvious. Gigi is obvious. Yeah, I saw what Scottie Pippen Jr. did. I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not doing this with y'all. I'm not going down that lane with Scottie Pippen Jr. And here I am, like I said, with Scottie Pippen Jr. They got another one, man. This Lamar Stevens can hoop. Like, man. The proof is, like, we've seen it, man. And it's crazy because I remember reading an article about Lamar Stevens, right? And it was like, this Boston has this guy. He's been getting minutes lately. You know, if you know, he could be a good piece. He's just kind of caught up in the numbers game over there. And I was like, and then you start hearing rumors about John Conchar at the time in Boston, right? And people were saying, man, we need to get that Lamar Stevens dude that's on their bench. I was like, man, Boston ain't gonna trade us. They're gonna give us, you know, some schmo or whatever, right? And then when we make the trade, I forgot the dude's name. Like, I didn't know it was. And then I found out, oh, that's the dude. That dude can hoop a little bit. And so that dude can hoop a little bit, man. He's like, what, 6'6"? He can rebound, defend. He was playing the 5. He was guarding Alperon Sengun last night. He's knocking down threes. He's knocking down minis. He's going down dunking on dudes. I'm like, oh, shit, man. They done found another one, man.
Did they get another one?
Man, that dude is going to apply pressure to this front office. I'm telling you. They're not – he's a free agent this summer, right?
Yeah.
They're probably going to sign him. The Grizzlies are slick, man. They bring you into this culture. They have you feeling good. I can see the Grizzlies bringing him in on Exhibit 10, right? And just like, look, just sit this, like, wait. Like, let this play out, right? We don't have a spot for you now, but just let this play out, right? I can see him coming to camp because you could bring 20 dudes to camp, right? I can see them signing him to an Exhibit 10 and him making this roster next year. I can see him being he might take a two-way.
In place of who, though?
I don't think I'll say this, bro. I don't think Zaire Williams nor Jake LaRavia are going to be on this team next year. Either they're going to trade to get those guys off of there because they got some salary cap stuff. And I guess Shawn Coleman, I talked to him about this on Discord. They've got some salary cap things they can do to get under the luxury tax, and that's going to change the money you can spend. Me and him talked about that off the air. We'll probably talk about that again in our segment. But that kid's too good, man. Like, that kid can play, bro. Like, he's a guy, if that's my 12th, 13th man, give me that over Jake LaRavia any day. You know what I mean? So I can definitely see the potential in a guy like that. And the other dude, Jordan
Goodwin.
I'm sick of it, man. I can't take any more of these productive dudes who are coming in out of nowhere for sure.
Is this a Grizzlies thing or just they got good eyes and they got good they're good
I think
talent?
it's both. I think it's both, man. I think that this front office was challenged beginning of the season. They were challenged by the fan base. And they were challenged by the media. The criticism started coming in. And I believe they sat up in the chair, man. They sat up in the chair playing the game. You know what I mean? With the controller, like in video game talk. And I think they're like, all right, Let's go get back in our bag of evaluating talent. And I think the scouting department, because people got to understand that too. NBA scouting departments, they're not just scouting for the draft. There are scouts at every game. Every Grizzlies game, there are 2 or 3 NBA scouts there watching guys on the end of our bench, watching guys on our rotation. And I think our guys are going out doing the same thing. Like, you know what? If there is a deal on the table, I want that dude at the end of Boston's bench. You know what I mean? I think he can fit into what we do. Or, you know, all these type of things. Or scouting guys in the G League, scouting guys overseas. And, man, they've nailed it, bro. Scottie Pippen Jr. can play. Trey Jemison, kid can freaking play. He's a true rookie, right? He can play. Lamar Stevens can play. Jordan, what's his name?
Goodwin.
Jordan Goodwin can play, man. Like, they've done a great job of just evaluating dudes. Even the Jalen Noel dude, man. That dude at the time, that dude looked good, man. You know what I mean? Yuta Watanabe can play. I think they've done a great job of just evaluating dudes and just raising the talent floor of this team because it definitely needed it, man. Because somebody else said this. I can't remember who it was on Twitter. They was like, man, I'm almost grateful for that this season has been the disaster that it has. Because if it had not have happened this way, they would have tried hard as hell to go get a center, whether it be an Andre Drummond or whatever center, like, you know, serviceable guy, right, to kind of put that patch over Steven Adams being gone. And we would have made the playoffs. You know, if Ja hadn't got hurt, we would have made the playoffs. And we would have been seeing Zaire Williams, David Roddy, or Jake LaRavia having to play, and those guys would not have been ready. And Vince Williams and Gigi Jackson would have been in South Haven. Like, that would have happened, bro.
Absolutely.
That would have happened. If this team was a competent team the entire season, a good competitive team, you would have saw Gigi Jackson and Vince Williams somewhere playing in South Haven, and Gigi screwing around or doing whatever he was doing, a lot more of it probably not being a factor. And you would have saw Zaire Williams, David Roddy, and Jake LaRavia being forced down our throats. Like, that would have happened.
It's just wild. Like, it is, if you want to look at it with rose-colored glasses, you can sit here and say that these injuries, all of this bad shit that's happened this year for the Grizzlies,
it is for the good, man,
has set them up for success for the future.
Because you're gonna get a top 10 pick this year that you were not supposed to get this year, and it's almost like justice, man. Because I remember when we had the Lakers pick that year, we were supposed to get that season. Mm-hmm. We didn't get it, right? And I was like, man, we could have had a freaking top 10 pick in the draft, and New Orleans took Dyson Daniels with that pick, and I know that's a guy the Grizzlies were high on. I think maybe during, I don't know. Could have been during. I don't know. I can't remember what I heard the Grizzlies thought about during, if he was even available at 10. Because I think he got drafted at 8, right?
I can't remember. Let me check. I can't remember.
I don't know. But you get it this year, man. You're going to have a top 6 to 8 pick more than likely, right? And if those BS ping pong balls, for those of you who believe that ping pong balls are the actual system they use, I don't believe that bullshit. No. I believe the draft is fixed. I've always thought it's been fixed. I can explain any draft where there are like important players in it or a reason to fix it. I think they fix it. When there are years where it don't really matter, I don't think they do it. But you know,
Jalen Duren was the 13th pick.
Oh shit, but he could have got Duren. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we thought about Duren that year, but I know they were high on Dyson Daniels. You know. So, but yeah, man, we'll see. But let's say you get Sarr in the draft, right? You get the number 1 pick who's a big man.
Oh, Jesus.
You weren't supposed to have that, man. You know what I mean? If you get somebody like Filipowski, whoever you get, you know what I mean? Or the Dillingham kid, whoever you get, man, that dude's not supposed to be on your roster next year. You know what I mean? You're about to get that. Plus, you got a guy on your team right now who would have been a top 5 pick in this draft as well. You got to play Back to the Future a little bit, you know? So
I've said this. I was on the Grizz 101 show after the.
I saw you on that, man.
Hey, man, listen.
You and my guy John Martin Jr.
John Martin Jr.
Dominic Martin. Shout out to my boy John Martin too, man. Had his first son, Dominic John Martin.
Let's go, man.
I think this is his son's name.
I said this. I've said this twice now on air with them. This season with Gigi feels like the appetizer to the main course. Mm-hmm. The next year is his rookie year for me. Mm-hmm. In terms of, so everything you're getting right now is just cake, man. It's just appetizer for the next year is when you unleash him to the world.
You know what it feels like? It just came to me, man. It just effing came to me what you're getting out of Gigi Jackson, right? You ready for this?
I'm ready.
You watched the show Winning Time?
No.
Good God, Kenny.
Yeah. Oh, Winning Time. Yeah. With the Michael Jordan show.
No. Magic Johnson,
Oh,
Larry
no.
Bird.
We've had this discussion. You blasted me for not
watching it. All right, forget winning time. We're gonna talk about real life because it's actually based on real. It's based on shit that really happened. Like it ain't like it's some fake story, right? All right, so back in the '80s, the Boston Celtics drafted Larry Bird, right?
Right.
But he didn't come out of the NBA. It was so weird back then. The whole bro, I had this conversation with somebody too, bro. The NBA didn't start until like 1985, bro.
Come on, man.
Anything before 1985, that shit was not the NBA, bro. Because
stuff doesn't count.
There were teams who couldn't make payroll, and like, hey, I got Robert Parrish over here. I can't afford to pay him. Oh, I'll take him off your hands with your broke ass. But it's like that's like the Memphis Grizzlies like calling up Philadelphia, or the vice versa, or us calling Philadelphia and being like, no, let me think a team that's like true poverty.
Charlotte.
Right. That's like I was calling Charlotte like, hey, no. Here's a good one. We called it Orlando Magic. Like, man, we can't give this kid what's his name, bro?
Franz Wagner.
Him or the other one, right? Hey, we can't pay Paolo, right? Hey, we'll take him off your hands, man. Here's Jake LaRavia. Give me Paolo. Like, that kind of stuff happened, bro, in the early NBA, right? Like, you know that happened, right? Like, it was teams that could not afford to pay dudes.
NBA just got started.
NBA did not start until like 86. It's being real, in my opinion, man. I don't count anything in NBA history before then. Like 15 world championships for the Boston Celtics. All right, go look at why that happened, bro. Go look at why that happened. First of all, like only like 3 of those included a league that had black people in it. Like, so go look at all that shit, man. Look at all the context of old NBA, bro. Like, go look it up for real though, bro. But yeah. They drafted Larry Bird, right? But he went back to college. But he was the property of the Boston Celtics, right?
Right.
That's what it's kind of like you have with Gigi Jackson, where they Boston Celtics fans like, damn, bro, that dude who's killing it, that crazy cold dude, or like watching KD when he was in college, that dude's gonna be on our team next year. Like, but we actually got the dude on our team.
That's crazy.
That's what we're doing with Gigi for sure, man. But I tell you what, bro, we got Shawn Coleman, who's a lot smarter than me. Coming in for the Sit Down with Sain. I'm going to slide out of the way. Get my guy Shawn Coleman on here for the Sit Down with Sain. About to take a break. When we come back, it's going to be more of the Answer the Sain show. See you guys in a minute.
David Roddy on like extreme circumstances, which he was awful against the Cavs last night. But anyway,
he's still young though.
I'm not, man. Move that dude. He does not need to be a Grizz next year, and neither does Arabia or Zaire. Like, get them dudes out of here.
I'm not nailing him to the floor, but he is head and shoulders above. I mean, he is. I'd rather have him than a lot of people.
No, dude, get Roddy out of here. That dude's a bum. He's a 6'4" center.
This before,
I've never been a Roddy fan.
And you've been absolutely wrong before.
Was I though? Because he's not an NBA player. Yeah, he had a streak after I said that. He's not.
You're
an
picking
NBA
the
player,
wrong
dude.
hill to die on here.
I'm just telling you, man.
But my point is you can die on this hill if you want to, but it's not a take that is bold enough for you to die. Like, we all could. You don't know. And nor do I know. The book
There's a large enough
written.
sample size. There's a large enough sample size. That dude is not an NBA player.
That dude makes things happen. I want people that are active, who make winning plays. Teams need players. No, I'm going to finish. Teams need players that make hustle plays. That guy has it in spades. He is the guy that you want in your corner.
Tune in to the $2 Sports Show with Rusty Witten and Drew Gann every Friday at 3 p.m. only on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Yeah. Vince Williams is the closest thing we've seen to Tony Allen.
100%.
Tony Allen. I think that has been really thrown around very loosely in a kind of just joking manner for a lot of people, because everybody for the love that we have for TA, such a big factor in this franchise. We throw that thing around. We throw that the grandson thing around lightly because it's just kind of funny on Twitter, but he is the closest thing to Tony Allen that has been so far in a Memphis uniform. And I think that's D'Anthony Melton might have been the other, but to your point, that's what made me think about this, is that the fearlessness that he plays with, That's what Tony Allen played with. He did not care who you were. He doesn't see a name on that.
Tune in to The Daily Grind with Mark King and Luke Hatmaker at 1 p.m. every Monday through Friday, live on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
I think he can be. This is tough because anything you kind of say about guys like now, like people tend to take, even if it's slightly negative, it's like, insulting one of their own children. And the reality is, I think he can be. I think his best role is probably as a backup wing on a really good team. Like I don't know that he's necessarily a starter, in the NBA on a really good team. He may be. He's a little undersized. I think he plays a little bit bigger than he really is. I want to say initially he came in listed at like 6'6", but I think he's probably closer really about 6'4", maybe 6'5", in that range. But he plays big because he plays tough. He's pretty athletic, pretty good leaper. The big key for him is going to be to continue to shoot it well. If he continues to shoot it well, there's a place for him in the league, and there's a place for him in the Memphis rotation, because we all know if you're hard-nosed and get after it, they're going to find a way to play you. Exactly. If you shoot so much, the better. So
tune in to the Grizz 901 postgame show, live after every Grizzlies game on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
All right, y'all, welcome back to the Anthony Sain Show. Time once again for the sit down with Sain. My guest, you might know him for being a Grizz columnist / senior editor for Bluff City Media. You might seen his work. You might see him on GBB Live. It's been a minute, but you probably remember him for being the podcast host of GBB Live. You might see him in a Twitter space arguing with one of you lame brains out here. Educating the masses. You might seen him in there. You might thought you saw him on a $2 podcast. There's some other country.
That's some other country dude.
It ain't him.
That ain't him.
I know he look like the same dude, but he ain't one of them. You might thought he was a hillbilly Chris Harrington, but it ain't him. My man, Shawn Coleman is in the building. What's up, my boy? Shawn, what's going on, bro?
Man, never knew I was known by so many names amongst the Grizz Nation, but
you might thought you saw him on the $2 podcast.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Shout out to those guys.
Uncle Buck and Rusty Buckets.
Yeah, shout out to Rusty Buckets and Uncle Buck in the building, man. But my boy, Shawn Coleman,
hey, man,
the pride of Tipton County.
I got one thing to say, though.
What's up?
We've had a lot of guests on this show.
And this man talks so much shit, man. You know we finna get on his ass when we lock him in the studio, bro.
Man,
you should know that.
You've had a lot of guests on the show. There's been some really good guests, but we are literally scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Oh, with Shawn Coleman, I ain't gonna lie. I literally ran
seriously.
And notice that I'm still the one getting camera time while Kenny's off camera. So.
Hey, Kenny love grabbing the camera though. Hey, yeah, I saw his ass on goddamn 901 Grizz 901 last night. I'm like, shit.
Listen,
damn, Kenny.
You got that sexy face, man.
Man, I think he P. Diddy in this club. What do you got going on?
I wouldn't know. I skipped those parts about the videos right. So
shout out to Daniel Greer and them.
Yeah.
Grizz 901. Yeah, man, my man Shawn Coleman, clearly one of the more just intelligent, bright minds in this whole Grizz fan world, man. You've been doing your thing for a while. Me and you go back to my Blue World Order days.
Dude.
I reached out to Shawn because I knew you was a Tennessee Titans fan, I believe, at the time. And I said, man, I'm trying to do this blog site that's got Grizzly stuff, Tiger basketball, Tiger football, and Tennessee Titans. What you think about, writing, coming over and writing or whatever. You were doing it. I didn't do it too much longer after that. So, but you were there while it lasted, man. So you're one of the guys I've seen in this independent journalism game. It's been around for a while, man. So kudos to you, man. Salute. We go back a while. We talk plenty of shit to each other, whether it's in Discord, Twitter, text, whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
The Snap. What's that thing called? The group thing we do.
Discord.
Not Discord. Other Slack channel. Slack all this stuff. Yeah. So Shawn Coleman definitely in the building. You don't live in Memphis. You live right outside of Memphis in Tipton County, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. Yeah.
And you're in town today for Grizzlies versus Bucks. You guys, of course, watching this on Friday. Shawn, let's do it like this right here, man. You hear a lot of talk about where the Grizzlies are in the standings. Right now, I think they're tied for 6-7 in the reverse standings. You got teams that are in the top 5 that are doing a lot worse than we are. One of those teams in particular is Portland, who's 15-38. The Grizzlies right now are 19-36, tied with Toronto at 19-36. And then above the Grizzlies, you have Brooklyn, who's 21-33. Atlanta's 24-31. Houston is 24-30. And Utah is 26-29. My thing is, I don't really care what the Grizzlies do. Whether you go out there and say, hey, we're going to try to lose as many games as we can, or we're going to try to win as many games as we can, whatever they're doing. I think you're going to fall somewhere between 6 and 8 regardless. I think I don't see a path, because right now Portland is 4 wins behind you, right? I don't think Portland's going to win 4 more games the entire season. I mean, just being honest with you. So I don't see that at all. I don't see you falling back that far. Toronto, they're halfway competing. They've actually got a pretty competitive team nowadays. Brooklyn has zero reason to tank. They're at 21-33, and their pick goes to the Rockets. Atlanta is Atlanta. They're going to try hard to get into the play-in. Houston's pick goes to Oklahoma City, and so does Utah's. So those teams, you're going to be stuck between 6 and 8. What do you think the Grizzlies' strategy should be for the rest of the season, especially when you're hearing murmurings about guys like Marcus Smart possibly coming back, Desmond Bane possibly coming back, Brandon Clark could be coming back soon? What do you think the Grizzlies' strategy should be going forward with those possibilities out there?
Continue to try to win and build chemistry with the players that you have, because the one thing that sets us apart, it's a great thing. I think that there's logic on both sides of the equation. You know, try to make this pick as good as possible with the rare opportunity that we're probably not going to have again, or hopefully won't have again. But also, what about developing the players that we have? Listen, I think you keep trying to win and develop chemistry between, a lot of these players who haven't played a lot with each other. Because the one thing that separates us from those other teams that you talked about, we have our core established. We've invested long term in what we feel is our championship core. Those other teams are trying to develop their core.
Right.
And so they're focused on trying to get as good of odds as possible to go up. This is a draft upcoming where you've got a lot of players. Parker Fleming has said it very well as well. This is a draft where you've got a lot of players who may not be that franchise cornerstone, but they can turn into very, very good complementary pieces to your franchise cornerstones. And having those type of players that could be a plug-and-play type option in that 5 to 15 range in this draft that are on cheap contracts, wherever you land in that 6 to 8 range, I still think you're in a good spot, or you could trade back. I'm much more interested in seeing, a guy that we've already got who probably would be in a top 5 of this draft going forward, G.G. Jackson. You've already got that, luxury as well, seeing him continue to develop. And I think when it comes to him and Vince, as well as getting Bane and Smart and, playing back with Jaren, them being able to figure out what they need to do to consistently play at a level that wins games, I think it helps out the chemistry and familiarity with Bane, Smart, and Jaren, but also helps out the development for, Gigi and Vince, because it's great to see their individual development. You want them to be able to play together to impact winning. So that's why I would continue to try to win. And if you can get all these guys back for multiple weeks in March, see what can happen. Also giving Brandon Clark a bit of a trial run at the end to really see where he's at. I think that's the benefit of going that route.
You talked about cheap contracts, and of course the names that stick out are Gigi and Vince, who you're getting for dime on a dozen prices for the level of talent those guys are. You hear people talking about G.G. Jackson and what does he think he is, what his teammates think he is, and you hear people saying he's the wing of the future, right? And you kind of hear some of the other reports come out, like the Jaren may possibly move up to the 5. Then you see that Gigi has nice rebounding numbers, and you're like, all right, because I've always said, okay, it'd be really good if Jaren could play the 5, and you go get like a what's my guy's name? Like a Jeremy Grant or somebody, right? Like that's somebody like that. Or some guy that's like a power forward that can rebound, defend, multiple positions, score, things like that. Then you look at Gigi and you're like, man, I could see him being that guy who could possibly play. Jaren would have to rebound probably a little more. He had to be more physical. But if you have a guy like Gigi. But what do you see G.G. Jackson being in 2 or 3 years? Is he a 4-3? Is he a 3-4? Is he a 3? Is he a 4? What is G.G. Jackson's prime position in maybe 2 or 3 years?
To show examples of how me and Sain have gone back and forth for years, the 2 questions that I kind of prepared for to talk about were these right here. So these are great questions. I go to the fourth quarter against New York, and I go to Wednesday night's first half. And Anthony, I think you can say Gigi in those 2 instances, he looked like the best player on the court. We're talking about him being on the court with Jalen Brunson, your favorite player. Right. But my point is, though, is that that's 2 instances within the past week where Gigi has looked like the best player on the court in a way that's impacting winning. When we talk to, about a player like, for instance, a Cam Thomas, who's a phenomenal offensive player for the Brooklyn Nets, when you see him take over a game, you look at him and you say, okay, this looks like a player that could really take over a game in bench minutes because he has to have the ball in hand. With G.G. Jackson, his ability, I don't necessarily know if it's takeover, but he stands out among his peers by staying within the flow of the offense, by being someone who could be catch and shoot, take the ball off the dribble, what have you. When I look at G.G. Jackson, that encourages me because that means that he can be adaptable to playing with our best players when the ball's not in his hand that much often.
Right.
So I think that the upside of G.G. Jackson easily is that he's that fourth best player, big wing that we could see. Next year, I could see him really emerging as a scoring option to possibly go with Luke Kennard off the bench, who can keep the offense going when our best players are off the court, if we keep Kennard. But when it comes to GG long term, yeah, I think when we're talking about 2-3 years from now, towards the latter end of this contract that he has, he really could be that fourth player that we're looking for. And the Grizzlies should do everything that they can to develop that a part of him, because the defensive upside that you've seen from him, again, the multiple ways in which he can score and impact a game offensively, I'm really encouraged. I definitely think the upside of him, maybe an all-star potentially, but within Memphis's realm of possibility when it comes to contending, being that, elusive fourth big wing, that we've talked about.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see for sure. And then you look at guys like Vince Williams, who's been absolutely incredible the entire season as well. And just taking a look at Vince, like you see, he's got the the Rising Stars game nod, things like that. How does he fit in next year? And because I've said this entire season, if you want to trade Marcus Smart, trade Marcus Smart, right? Because he's a guy who definitely has value. But if he's back next year, because I've heard people say out of the same breath, out of the same mouth, right? Like Vince Williams needs to start. They'll say, "Oh man, Vince needs to be the starter." I don't have any arguments with it. Like you'd asked me that 6 weeks ago, I'm like, pump your brakes, right? But like if I hear people saying, "Okay, Vince needs to start," I say, "Okay, I'll give you that. Start Vince. Why not, right?" Then you also hear people say, and Scottie Pippen Jr. needs to be the backup point guard. Like, all right, pause. like Marcus Smart is still on the team, right? You know what I mean? So my question is, what does that dynamic look like if Marcus Smart, and that's a big if. I'm not saying that's going to happen, it's not going to happen, but you have to honestly consider that. If Marcus Smart is back on this roster opening night, what does your wing rotation look like between the Marcus Smart, Vince Williams, and G.G. Jackson?
Yeah, I certainly think that Marcus Smart will start. I think that the Grizzlies' version of a starting five next year will be Jaw, Smart, Bane, Jaren at the 4.
And some mystery guy.
Yeah, and some mystery center. And then I think that mystery center probably will take a back seat, and then you'll play a 5, maybe a Brandon Clark. But I think that Vince Williams definitely he's probably, in my opinion, the 7th guy off the bench, that guy who's that versatile type wing, I don't want to use these names and people think that I think he's going to be this level next year, but I could see him turning into our version of a Bruce Brown or our version of a Andre Iguodala, like it was on the Warriors. I'm not saying that Vince is on that level yet, but those defensive first guys who can make a difference, who can make a difference defensively, but also are that connector doing the small things type piece. They consistently impact winning on both ends of the court. They can be that in a reserve, or they can be that as a starter. They've got good scalability. I think he's that 7th guy that at times can certainly come in and play the 3 and the 4 in the closing lineup, or he's that type of guy who, like you see him now, he could be a surprisingly good source of facilitation when you're playing your bench lineups and don't have that much offense on the floor. So I think he's going to be a very versatile player. It's great that he plays bigger than his size, because his wing rebounding definitely helps out the fact that we don't have a lot of rebounding, right now on the roster, big man wise. So I think kind of his, add value in multiple ways type approach is definitely something you could use as a bench guy or as a starter. But his ideal role, I think, is probably as a 7th or 8th guy who could play a bigger role when need be, when injuries or other things happen.
Well, I'm going to tell you a couple guys I'm worried about next year as far as what their role will be. I'm not saying they won't have a role or to trade these guys or whatever, but I just wonder how they're going to fit into the equation. This team has a lot of versatile guys, like you said, that can play multiple positions. And I look at 2 guys, and those guys are Luke Kennard and Santi Aldama.
Okay.
Because I'm like, okay, you're going to get some version of Brandon Clark back, right?
Yeah.
And how does that guy look compared to Santi, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to get some center is going to be here, and possibly some backup center. Plus, you got the kid Trey Jemison who's going to be on a 2-way, right? So I think you've got those guys that if Santi tried to play up, he's got those guys in front of him. If he tries to play down, he's not really a wing. And even at his position, you got Jaren, you're probably going to have Brandon Clark, and you got Gigi who can play up to the forward if you need to play in a small lineup, right? We've seen Vince Williams play the forward, you know what I mean? So, and then with Luke Kennard, right? He can't play down. He's not a point guard. He's not a small forward. Only position he can play is the 2. You've got Marcus Smart there. You got Desmond Bain there. You've got Vince Williams who can play the 3 or the 2. How do those 2 guys fit into the equation next year, especially with the amount of money you're going to be paying for Luke Kennard if you bring him back? And then Santi, who's had an elevated role this year. How do those 2 guys fit into next year's team?
Well, I think with Kennard, he may not necessarily be the 6th man off the bench, but I think that he is going to be one of your primary scoring options. You know, the ideal strategy, I think, for the Grizzlies, you know, I talked about it when we finally got Ja back, is that at the end of the day, whatever makeup you want to make for this team moving forward, the strength of this team is defense. That's that's the strength of Taylor Jenkins. It's the strength of being, you know, our top, 7 players. Defense is where we typically are going to be near the top of the league. The idea is that if we could play good defensive first quarters and then our starters come off the bench, you then insert Luke shooting. That gives us that significant lead to play with more often than not. And as the team constructed right now is, we're much better playing with the lead than playing behind it, playing without the lead. So I think that Luke Kennard does have a spot, on this team that's clear, being that 6th, 7th man that could really come in when the quarters change and be that source of instant offense, shooting 3. Santi, he's shown that he's got a bit of Zaire to his game. He's got to be dependent on good point guard play. If that means that he's got to play with Ja the majority of the time, well, that may not necessarily work out next year like it could. But I think that you can work out an extension with Luke that allows for him not to count as much next year and keeps him in the fold. I think the Grizzlies value what he brings to this offense. The results show that when he's played and featured as a compliment to our best players, our offense reaches a level it hasn't before. But the other alternative, and to show, because I love Luke Kennard, to show that I feel all options are on the table, Luke and Santi are definitely the money-matching start of a trade package that you potentially could use if you want to package up your pick or you want to package up future picks to kind of put them together into one player. Yeah. You can go several different routes. But I do think Santi does still have a place on this team probably next year because we are lacking front court depth. But is he much more expendable than I would have considered him a year ago? He is. Yeah, it is kind of wild because I know that there were we got a lot of phone calls about Santi 2 years ago. Well, last year, right? And I think those calls dried up. I don't think they got the same level of calls because you're talking about a kid who a couple years ago where people were saying, okay, this kid's a legit 7-footer, can get to the basket, he can shoot the jump shot a little bit, he looks like a poor man's Pau Gasol a little bit. He was getting those type of comps, and this year it's like, all right, why is this dude shooting so many damn threes? You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think some of that's health as well, man. I think he's got some injury stuff that they're not really talking about that he's just kind of playing through because it seems like he's totally avoiding anything that involves getting to the basket at all. Agreed. And we know that he's a guy that's got that ability for Santi, of course. We talked about Gigi and Vince, 2 guys that are homegrown. You drafted both of these guys, and they went through your Memphis Hustle system. So it kind of makes sense that these guys were able to find their way when they got here, right? And but the strange thing is you got 2 guys in Lamar Stevens and Jordan Goodwin who made his debut the other night. Yeah. And it's like these guys are coming in and they're fitting in, they're celebrating, they're dancing, they're talking about the culture here. And you're hearing these young guys talk about the culture, whether it's Vince, Gigi, all these type of guys talking about culture. And I'll have to tip my hat to you because you are a Taylor Jenkins water carrier. I mean, you carry the biggest Stanley Cup of of Taylor Jenkins water possible, right? I mean, and I'll give you that. But I have to say, I've been saying this for the last few weeks now. I have to give him the credit that he plays in that cultural role. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I've been to Grizzlies practices or shoot around or whatever or media availabilities after practice, and they're saying, "Oh, we were just in here playing kickball. We weren't playing basketball, or we just had a free throw shooting contest for a championship belt, or all these type of things that are building chemistry." What do you think it is about this organization? And I heard Danny Green was on Jason and John's show the other day. He said the same thing. He said this is a top-notch organization. He talked about the Grizzlies culture. How are they able to build? What do you think is the key thing that they do to make it like these guys fit in and they're able to contribute immediately like those guys were able to do? I think that it's a few things. One of the things that you've heard most consistently, me and you talked about it earlier this year. I think one of the things that it is that there's a track record with Taylor Jenkins of doing 2 things. I think that he has helped players become kind of get their career going on the right direction, whether it be through shooting or through defense. I think that there's a track record that you can point out. Most of that credit goes toward the players, obviously, but I think that if you have a track record, that lengthy, some of it goes towards the coach. Right. And then the best players, the opinions in the locker room that matter the most, Ja, Jaren, and Bane, they've all talked about how when it comes to coach, he just empowers them. He quickly makes it clear, you're here for a reason. I'm wanting to sit here and make the most of that reason that you're here. Let's get to work and have it. As long as the players do the work, Jenkins is going to have unwavering trust in him, and that's how it works out. I know that there are, potentially some negative examples of that, of, how loyal he was to Grayson Allen. Sometimes Dylan Brooks may have not been in the role that he needed to be in. But the thing also that I think that comes into Taylor Jenkins doing well when these new players come in is that it's him being lockstep with the front office. Though Lamar Stevens nor Goodwin have played with us before, their type of play, defensive first, Lamar Stevens, even though it was a small sample size, he's a defensive playmaker type guy who can do well and has shown the ability to shoot. That's the type of player that Taylor Jenkins has found the most ability to develop in time. This team goes out and gets players who fits what Taylor Jenkins does. His strength is defense, but he also can make the most of their shooting ability at times. And I think that's why you see this type of instant success. Yeah. You see, Yuta, I think, is tailor-made for Taylor Jenkins because he could just sit there and rest in the corner and do well. Yeah. So I think that it's empowering these players. I think that it's treating them with the level of respect that some other coaches may not necessarily do the same with young players. And I think it's also that the front office does a great job of finding players whose skill sets may not necessarily be working elsewhere, but can come here and work. Yeah,
because you look at the what's his name, Lamar Stevens dude, right? Because I remember I was reading an article about Boston, and there was like, this kid Lamar Stevens hadn't been getting minutes, and he got in, he did well. I was like, man, screw Boston, man. Like, they just got all these freaking dudes. Just like some 15th man comes in, he contributes to them, right? Yeah. And I forgot about who this kid was in the article that I saw, right? Yeah. Then we traded for him. I was like, who the crap is Lamar Stevens, right? Then I saw him, I was like, oh, crap, that's that dude. That's that dude that was on Boston's bench or whatever, that they wrote an article about how he's a good hidden talent on their bench or whatever. And you just see guys like that who are able to come in. I had this conversation with somebody. We were talking about Jalen Noel on Twitter, right? And I was like, man, you just can't assume that, like, just because a guy is either out of the league or is not getting minutes on a certain team, that's a bad player. Sure. Jalen, there's so many dudes, 30 dudes that almost been on this team. Lamar Stevens, right? Like, he plays on a team that has, not Paul Pierce, has Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in front of him. Yes. At the minimum, he's got those two dudes in front of him. You know what I mean? So opportunity meets preparation sometimes, and you get a guy that's like, okay, well, he comes to Memphis, and he instantly day one looks like a player. He looks like a dude that's like, okay, that guy can play basketball. Yeah. And it's just like, you can't. And we've had all these. I've had criticisms for Taylor Jenkins the entire season. I've had criticism for to a lesser extent, but I've had criticism for Zach Kleiman as well. But you can't criticize these guys for Jake, Zaire, and Roddy, whatever you want to call Roddy, whatever you think Roddy was, and not give them credit for G.G. Jackson, Vince Williams, and then identifying in the trade a guy who looked like just a throw-in to make numbers work. That dude's going to put some pressure on you this summer, man. Like, in this 30 or whatever something games that are left, that Lamar Stevens dude is going to put some pressure on this front office, man. That dude can play. Scottie Pippen Jr., they went out and identified him. I think if he was getting more consistent minutes, we'll see that Trey Jemison is a very solid center prospect. We haven't seen him and Jaren start or play many minutes together at all. But I think that you have to give this front office credit for just identifying this talent, even if it's something that happened, even if it took absolute crisis for it to happen, man. You know what I mean? And on that note, what do you think? Like, I've talked about this. Micah's talked about this. A lot of people on Twitter have just said, "Hey, man." Like, I felt bad about this season at first, but I'm totally bought in. This is fun. We're getting free looks at dudes. And it's really, you're really seeing that this front office still can evaluate talent. You know what I mean? So where are you at on that as far as, like, this basically these free looks you're getting at all these guys? Yeah, no, I think what it shows is that, this front office is not perfect. Obviously, the thing that, is really hurt us, is out of our control, has been injuries. And it's not just this year. This year's been the pinnacle of it, but it's been over the past few years. We've had a couple of really good opportunities to make deep runs thwarted by injuries. But I think it shows that even despite a lot of stuff not working out the way that you would hope for this year, this front office still has done a good job of sticking to what worked in the past to make us a contender. And those things are what's going to allow for us to get past what
what for other organizations would close the door early on their championship window. The way that they made moves at the trade deadline to give us more flexibility over the summer, them getting Vince and Gigi by sticking with principles that, allowed for them to pick the guys, pre-draft wise, Laravia and Santi and Roddy, they look like players that the Grizzlies had drafted before them that were going to be successful. They didn't work out, but the Grizzlies stuck with what worked. And Vince may be the most, when I talk about the Grizz formula, I'm talking about defensive playmaking, rebounding, passing, can shoot the three-wheel, good, smart shot selection. Vince may have been the most Grizz-centric prospect in years for that formula that we talk about. But the point is they've stuck with what got them to the point of being a contender. They've kind of gotten off trail, but they've stuck. But they felt the best way to handle that was sticking with doing the same things that will help them be a contender moving forward. And I think that's it. Finding the right type of players, putting value on depth, putting value on defense, and also putting trust in the fact that their core will continue to grow offensively, which at the end of the day, offense is what is most important. The growth that you've seen with Desmond and Jaren this year, along with the emergence of Gigi to go with Ja, that is what I think will balance out with the fact that we're a good defensive team moving forward.
Yeah, we joked earlier about how you're one of the smarter guys in the Grizz community, and how like it's almost like dropping, like you said, Zach Lowe inside of a barbershop. Some of the conversations you see Shawn having on Twitter or whatever. But let's crack the code, man. Let's look into the offseason, right? Because we've seen Zach Kleiman talk. You're one of those guys like me who really like dissects these interviews and really like, I might smoke me a blunt or something while I'm watching it so I can really dig into what the brother's saying. But I don't know if you do that. You might roll up some corn seed or whatever. I don't know what you be doing out there in the farm, man. But, I know you look into this stuff pretty deep too. Because they seem like they're very confident, right? Anytime you step out and you say, I'm going to trade like one of the most perfect fit centers like to a roster ever in Steven Adams. I'm going to let that dude go, even though I know he's got the knee injury concerns. I'm going to let that dude, I'm going to trade this guy, right? And I'm also going to trade his backup, right? So if that's what your strategy is, it seems like they've got something sound that they like, okay, we know we got this plan A, B, and C, right? Yeah. So let's break down what you think that strategy may be. Because it's so weird because they've got so many routes they can go with it, man.
Exactly.
Because you can say, okay, we're going to get off some salary so we can get up under the tax and we can pay somebody the full MLE, right? Yeah. Or you can say, okay, you know what? We're gonna take just a straight up journeyman big who does exactly what does this. He rebounds. He can block shots a little bit. He's big. He's going to set screens. I could get him for about $6-7 million a year. That might be the strategy, right? And I say, okay, you know what? I'm going to combine him with a guy I'm about to draft in the top 5 or the top 6 or 7, whatever. That could be your strategy. Your strategy could be, you know what? I'm going to take Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, this number 10 pick. I'm going to go after Joel Embiid. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that, but you can go after the guy who's got a little bit more money. Yeah. Or you might do like a sign and trade for Nick Claxton, right? Yeah. You might do something like that. Or let's break down all the options because that's the question. How are we going to get a big man on this team? Yeah. So I threw out some of the options then, but let's go in depth and really break down some of those options. Let's start off with the draft. Let's say Zach Kleiman's idea is, you know what, I'm just going to draft the big. I'm going to throw him out there. I'm going to go get me another free agent big on the cheap or trade for some guy. I'm going to trade Zaire and a couple second-round picks for some $5-6 million big on a couple expiring deals, something like that. And I'm going to have a vet and my rookie. Let's break that down.
Yeah, I think that what that looks like is that someone that many have astutely mentioned on Grizz Twitter and just covering the team, Andre Drummond stands out as that type of player. Because if you want to,
you got me listening.
Yeah, is if you want to talk about a player who has done the same things that Steven Adams has done, it's Andre Drummond. Offensive rebounding, setting screens, blocks, things like that.
And he's not nearly as old as you think he is.
That's correct.
However old you think Andre Drummond is, take 5 years off of it. That's probably right.
Absolutely.
He's like 30 years old, man.
Yeah, and you're probably getting to that point, Anthony, to where that type of player is someone that you want to play 20 minutes a game. Because that's why they probably moved off Steven Adams is Chris Harrington talked about it. They didn't know if Steven Adams was that guy anymore who could play 30 minutes a game coming off his injury, and they didn't want to play. They didn't want to pay him $12.5 million, plus also pay Brandon Clark $12.5 million coming off an injury. So basically, you kind of reconstruct, I guess, what you had in Steven Adams, but with a little bit more versatility. You go out, you get Drummond, maybe for half the salary of Steven Adams on a 2-year contract.
Let me pause you. What is the taxpayers' exception?
I think that it's $12 million.
For real?
Yeah, I
can't be because MLE is 12.
Well, I think then I get them confused. I'll be honest, I'm not the most knowledgeable in the contract setup.
Can you look that up for us while we're chopping it up? Find out what the exception, the max exception is if you're a tax-paying team.
Yeah.
If you're in the luxury tax. But go ahead.
But you bring up a good point in that, they could potentially, I mean, the first thing I think that you do is you probably continue to look at seeing if you can move off either Zaire Williams or a John Conchar so you can get below that tax.
Right.
And I know
then you could do the full level.
You were talking about Zach Kleiman, discussing, really dissecting what he said. He mentioned when it came to what this team will spend, there's not a budget out there that we're focused on. We're focused on what the limitations are.
Right,
when
and bringing in new contracts. Yeah.
I think that this team should be all on board with doing whatever it can to have as many options as it has on the table. That's why they created that trade exception in the Steven Adams trade. But I think to your point is that one of the things that you could do on the big man front is I don't necessarily think it makes the best use of assets to go out and get a Nick Claxton or go out and get a player that you would pay $20 to $25 million to. I think that it probably makes sense to go out and get that Andre Drummond type who can kind of fill that Steven Adams role next year for us. But then in the draft, if you can't get an Alex Sarr, get someone like a Kyle Filipowski of Duke, someone that is more in line with what Taylor Jenkins wants to do, is more in line with the type of player that the Grizzlies have focused on in the past.
And he's a Duke.
Yeah, he is a Duke. He is from Duke. But if you can get that shooting, that player that can have the facilitation aspect and have the three-point shooting, maybe he eventually can become that long-term five for Jaren. But at the very least, you've reconstructed having more depth, more versatility in your front court, and you're winding up paying the same amount that you would have if you would have kept Steven Adams, but with a far more upside in the future and some certainty in the present.
If you're not able to sign a Drummond type guy, I'm not saying he's only, mid-level guy that you can get. Let's say you don't get him right. Let's say you don't sign anybody. Could you pull out that same formula with a Jaren Brandon Clark front court with the rookie who's getting minutes, who you're grooming to be ready in a year or two?
Potentially. But I think that that's putting a lot on Jaren, who has an injury history.
Even more on BC, who is coming off.
Exactly. I think that the Grizzlies, you could do that. But that's asking a lot. That's asking Brandon Clark to immediately come back, play 25, 30 minutes a game and be his old self. That's going to be a lot to ask of him, even with the time he's had off, with the Achilles being as important to his type of playing style that it is, plus also, the fact that you want for him to kind of build himself back up. I think that you need, Taylor Jenkins mentioned it. This team wants to probably go out and get a Steven Adams archetype, but they want for it to be someone who probably plays about 2/3 of the time that Steven Adams did and be at about half the cost. So I think in whatever way you may want to come up with how the front court's going to look next year, it's going to include a more traditional, sizable center who's going to rebound, who's going to block, and who's going to set screens. Yeah. Now, is that also going to then make Santi Aldama potentially your fifth big? Sure. I think if Santi Aldama winds up being your fifth big, then you're likely going to use him in a trade. Yeah, or he's a pretty good fifth big. But I think in whatever formula you come up with, I do think that the draft pick utilization, if they keep the pick, it's going to be to draft a big, plus also getting a sizable, bigger center, kind of like an Andre Drummond.
All right, let's throw out the other.
Real quick, Anthony, I want to clarify. So you're talking, you asked for the mid-level exception for a taxpayer team?
Right.
$5 million in 23-24, 5.25 in 24-25.
Yeah, it'd be kind of hard to get Drummond at that number.
He's making, I think, he's on a 2-year, $6 million deal now. If you can get him could you get him at 210 possibly? But the way he's played this year, he's probably looking more 2 years, 15.
Yeah, but here's another thing too, man. Like if it comes down to it, because I want to say that we're only like $5 or $6 million over the tax, or whatever.
Yeah.
Even if you opted in Kennard, you're like $5 or $6 million.
I think that's correct. Yes. Yeah.
Man, if you do either John Conchar, Zaire, or Jake LaRavia, and sweeten it with like a second-round pick, because you got 5 of them, dude, you just picked up. I can see that make a team taking that into nothing.
And that's worth the second-round pick because those guys you would love for one of those players, for a Zaire
and then
or
you
LaRavia.
got the full MLE at that point.
Exactly. And I think that, that probably makes the most sense. Listen, this team needs multiple pieces to really be where they need to be. They do not need to go into next year, in my opinion, thinking that Jaren and Brandon Clark are their 2 best bigs, as well as they've solved the wing issue with Vince and Gigi. They need to get a veteran guy who probably plays 15 to 20 minutes as a center, and I think that their significant move that's out there is going to get another veteran wing who could possibly start for you, but,
I said that too, man. If you get a guy like that who makes it where you can get Marcus Smart up out of here, like if you could get that guy, you in good shape, man.
That may be the case. I don't necessarily know if they're going to go after another 25 to 30 million guy.
And I'm a Marcus Smart guy. That's not against Marcus Smart.
Well, and I think I agree with you. I know that there were there's a ton of interest in Marcus Smart at the trade deadline. You could see a scenario where that interest could escalate to where if the Grizzlies, it made sense, sure. But I do think that this Grizzlies team, when they're looking at this team right now, and they're looking at aspects of this team that truly could stand out in a title pursuit, the defense of Marcus Smart, Jaren, and Vince on the court together, that is the closest aspect of this team, I feel, that's truly championship worthy. It was only 50 to 60 possessions that we saw in late December into early January where they played together, but their numbers, their impact, their defensive impact numbers that we saw from them, it was on a level that no other lineup of any other team had been so far this year. I think they really want to dive into that.
Yeah.
So I see the logic more now because me and you talked about it earlier this year. I just didn't see it then. I can see the logic, especially with the emergence of Vince now, where trading Marcus Smart could make sense in the right situation. But I definitely do think this team really wants to see what that can do in the playoffs. Him, Jaren, and Vince.
A lot of our fans really have gotten excited because, like, well, Marcus Smart didn't look good in the beginning of the season. And there's factors, there's context to it, the reason why he didn't look good. You're talking about a guy who's literally only played for one team, one style of play. And he played with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You know what I mean? And they didn't play an up-tempo style.
Agreed.
But once Ja got here, it's like, oh, this how y'all play? You saw Marcus Smart. When he was Ja's backup, we were up-tempo.
Yeah.
And then you got to think about this, too, with Marcus Smart. He's a guy who's been a dog. He's been a leader. Even when he was a young player, he was still the dog and the leader of that locker room. It's like, I don't know these dudes. I just can't come in and be the leader of these dudes. But once he started getting acclimated, you start seeing Marcus Smart playing good basketball, and then bam, he's hurt. You know what I mean? So I think they really want to see what that looks like you said, with Vince Williams, him, and Jaren. Oh, man, it's getting me.
Who's the guy you're talking about, though?
Who are you talking about?
Who are you talking about in terms of this guard, like that makes Marcus Smart expendable? If they're not trying to sign a guy or get a guy that's that expensive, who's the guy you're talking about? Like, or what
I don't know.
What level?
I don't know. I'm not talking about like a. I don't know if I'm talking about like a. I'm not talking about like a. I don't want to say Miles. I don't know if I'm talking about like a Mikal Bridges. I'm not talking about particular that. I don't know. Maybe I might be talking about somebody that don't exist, bro. You remember that's the same thing that Keith Parrish said. He was like, man, we're talking about people that don't exist.
They don't exist.
Right. So
this ain't 2K, right?
Right. Exactly. You ain't making a dude. You know what I mean?
I mean, there are options out there. For instance, is a Jeremy Grant possibly a better fit for this team as a big wing that's a good spot-up shooter and can defend decently? Is he a potentially better fit for this team, in a general sense than Marcus Smart? Sure, but you've also got, basically you've got double the years and double the contract size, and we've got to pay special attention to that moving forward. With Marcus Smart, you've got 2 years, basically $40 million left on it. That's a very expendable contract in the right situation, but you also know that with arguably your best two-way player and another that's emerged this year, you really on one side of the ball can be elite. And so that's why I want to think they give it run. And to the same aspect of, what can Marcus Smart do for us that, somebody cheaper or, are we going to be too small for Marcus Smart? I think it goes back to your point. It's the leadership, but also being like, our guys may be a certain height, may have a certain wingspan, what have you, but a guy like Smart, a guy like Vince Williams, they play bigger than their size.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I definitely think that the idea of could Marcus Smart be here for a championship run, or could Marcus Smart be a piece to get us another piece that could lead to a championship run, you could see both of those avenues being taken more clearly by this front office than they did in the past.
Yeah, for sure. And that's when people who didn't understand why the Grizzlies had interest in guys like Killian Hayes, when you get guys like you on who just think on a different level intelligently as far as strategy for the team, it makes total sense now, because that would have got you under the luxury tax.
Sure.
If you'd have sent Zaire to Detroit, right, or John Conchar to Detroit, and you got Killian Hayes back this offseason, you would have started the offseason as a non-taxpayer.
Yeah, correct. And I mean, it also
ain't about Killian Hayes. You would have erased that contract.
Yeah. And it's also about, your money needs to be allocated, to players that are going to play. They signed Conchar to that contract. I going back a year ago, they probably wouldn't have, I don't think, with how things have happened. But they signed Conchar to that.
And they're definitely moving different now, because they got Gigi in there for nothing. Yeah.
Well, and I
just gave Conchar money they didn't have to give him.
There probably was a time where they felt that Conchar, if his shooting would have stayed, could have been some, not Melton impact wise, but it could have been a cheaper acceptable version of Melton. That didn't work out. His shot has not been where it has been in the past. As roles expand.
Timu Austin Reeves or something.
Yeah, but the point is that you can't have your 13th guy on the roster making $6 million with where the Grizzlies are. The Grizzlies are no longer that up-and-coming team that have their best players on cheap contracts that they could truly go after the title. They're a team now that's paying their core nearly $100 million. It's going to go even higher when Jaren gets paid in 2 years. They're going to have to make sure every dollar is allocated towards players that are adding value.
Yeah, man. Well, it's definitely setting up for a very interesting offseason for sure, man. I'm just over here praying we don't cut Derrick Rose. I would cry if we cut Derrick Rose, man. Like, poor Derrick Rose, man. How you gonna cut Derrick Rose? You still got Jalen Ravy on the team.
Yeah.
Like don't we deserve our own what's my boy, man?
Udonis Haslem.
Don't we deserve our own Udonis Haslem? Like, every team should be able to have just a roster spot free for an old dude.
I don't know if we deserve it, but Derrick Rose deserves it.
Man, we deserve it and Derrick Rose deserves it, man. Like, no, man. Like, I can't deal with it. If I see Zaire and Jake, I'll say this, man. The way that this thing set up, some of the stuff you heard rumbling about the Grizzlies, they were trying to get one or both of those contracts up out of here, man.
Absolutely. There's no. All logic would point to the fact that the Grizzlies had plenty of discussions, but at the end of the day, if other teams were asking for more from the Grizzlies to move off of Zaire and Jake, and they were able to actually get value for Roddy, that should tell you what the opinion of both those players are around the league. I would love for at least one of them to still develop. I certainly would. I still think Jake does have theoretically a good shot, but it's not going to work out.
Everybody. Y'all.
That's a wrap. And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Well, get him out of here. No, but seriously, man, this great conversation with my man Shawn Coleman. About to wrap it up. We got Chris Harrington at home, goddammit. We ain't gotta bring Chris Harrington on. We got Hillbilly Harrington in the building.
It don't get better than Chris Harrington. So shout out to you.
The man got the hat and everything. My man Shawn Coleman in the building, man. We about to take a break. When we come back, it's gonna be the 3-parter here on the Anthony Sain Show. See you guys in a minute.
Basketball really isn't that complicated.
No.
The last 3 games that they've won, they've had more assists than turnovers.
Yep.
And their 2 best players are playing like their 2 best players.
Yep.
It's really simple. Like, it's not that complicated.
It's a pretty stunning formula for success.
And that the recipe for success for this team is pretty easy.
Yeah.
Don't turn the ball over too much.
Yeah.
Share the ball, and then David Jones and Javon Quinterly go cook.
That's like the second level.
Okay, so I'm even more in the I'm more in the weeds than I need to be.
Let's go easy bake oven recipes. Okay. All right. Just play your damn best players.
That's fair.
Yes.
That's fair.
I agree with that. It's been frustrating watching Penny finally arrive to this, but I think he's there. But we'll see.
Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Woo! It has been quite the break.
I feel like that Vince McMahon meme where it's like, that's me right now.
Holy Toledo. TJ, we can't have 10% beers when we eat dinner at 5 o'clock and record at 11.
So I'm still waiting for Bada to get back with this there.
Dear
God. So. Did you have any hard-hitting questions?
That'd be great. Great.
We got the commercial break.
Supposedly there's a video of Drake going around the internet, and Kenny just sent me a still shot. It's going to take a minute to recover from that.
That's what she said.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
But I just want to ask the question. Should Derrick Rose retire?
I mean,
I'm being dead serious. It's not nothing against the guy.
I know you are. That's why it sucks.
I'm asking a legit question because he can't stay injury free. I don't know if it, maybe an offseason helps.
Magic 8 Ball. All signs point to yes.
Sheesh. That's the sad part of it too.
It's, again, like, I know a lot of people want him to do the Udonis Haslam thing. Like, that's the extent of Derrick Rose at this point. It's
okay.
Like, he still showed. I mean, he had a nice move under the basket tonight, but it's, man, like, he's always hurt for a reason, dude. His body's just, it doesn't have it, right? And if he can fit into Udonis Haslam type role where he's just the bench guy and the vet for the team, then that's awesome.
Tune in to the Grizz 901 postgame show, live after every Grizzlies game on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
All right, y'all, welcome back to the Anthony Sain Show. Time for the three-pointer. Shout out to my man, Shawn Coleman. Good stuff with him, of course, man.
Y'all nerded out.
I got it to the nerd bag on y'all ass, bro. Hey, my boy Shawn Coleman in this joint, man. Hey, we got Chris Harrington at home, bro. We ain't gotta bring Chris Harrington on this joint no more, bro. We got our own in-house Chris Harrington with us. We got T-Moo Chris Harrington in this joint, man. You know what I'm saying? In the building, man. My man Shawn Coleman. But yeah, man, it's time for the three-pointer, man. We talk about three things that's on a real ninja's mind out here, man. Number one, a lot of crazy stuff going on in the NBA. I'll start off with this Jason Tatum. Go vote for Jason Tatum and get a year of league pass thing. Hey, we joked the other day about T-Moo in that Super Bowl commercial, right? Yeah, y'all go ahead and sign up for that free year. Go ahead and sign up. You're going to try to cancel that joint. So, oh, no, there's a caveat. It comes with a 2-year minimum payment we're going to hit your bank account for. I don't know if this happened or not, but shout out to the people who got that. I had no interest in it. Illegal stream everything. I get every NBA game anyway. So
hey man, I'm gonna need you not to dry snitch on yourself, man.
All right, because
I've been trying to get on that.
Mark Cuban is listening, right?
Yeah, Mark Cuban is listening. I've been trying to get on. I can't access it.
On what? The one I got?
The link you sent me.
I got you, bro. I ain't know you still was on it. I got you.
I've been trying.
I got you, fam. I got you. You got Discord, huh?
Yeah.
Of course you got Discord. I got you, bro. The whole time. I got you. Yeah, man. So there's they're giving out free NBA League pass if you go vote for something. I don't know if that was a glitch or they didn't think as many people. They had to know people gonna blow that up though.
That just shows me how much it cost them to do League Pass and how much money they make on it.
Right. I'm telling you what I think is about to happen, bro. I think that they're willing to do that, but there's about to be some in-app purchases coming from that. Like I don't know what it. I know they're trying to get into this virtual thing where you can like watch the games from a particular seat. With all these virtual headsets that are coming out, I think they're about to start charging for that as a premium.
What are your thoughts on that virtual stuff?
I don't like it. I don't like nothing that makes me feel like I'm not where I am.
Yeah, man.
If I'm sitting in this chair, I want to feel like I'm in this chair looking at these walls. I don't want to feel like I'm somewhere.
Like I'm in Egypt or something like that.
Right. But porn could be pretty good with that thing.
Hey, man.
Nah, I think I'm straight. Nah, I'm straight. I don't want to. If I've seen Ready Player One, and Ready Player One scared me because I went back and watched it for the first time.
Yeah.
And they had mobile delivery services way before there were mobile delivery service. Like somebody sat there and ordered a pizza, and a pizza flew to their window on a drone and dropped it off. I was like, okay, yeah, that's a little bit too much into the future for me. Like, how did they know that? So yeah, I'm good on the virtual reality stuff for sure. I ain't gonna lie. And my taxes here, right? I'm buying an Apple thing.
Are you gonna buy it?
Man, if I can afford that shit, bro, like wouldn't be messed up about the money. Oh yeah, that Apple thing would be at my house, bro. Cause my TV watching, I love to like sit and just have a very theatric TV experience. I'm not the big speaker. I don't have to have the speakers. Plus, I live in an apartment. I don't want to disturb the peace. But like, I'm all like into the super dark room, LED lights around the TV. They're synchronized. Like if certain things happen, it pop. You know, it's sound activate. I like all that, bro. Like if I'm watching The Color Purple, I want the purple lights. If I'm watching a Tiger game or a Grizz game, I want the blue lights. You know what I mean? Like I like it to be. If I'm watching The Incredible Hulk, I want the green lights around the screen. Like I want the like a very optic experience that comes down to that. I like, man, with them goggles, I can watch a movie and like just everything I see is the movie. You know what I mean? So
makes sense.
Yeah, so I think that'll be pretty dope. But as far as like, oh, I'm gonna go into some virtual world. No, I'm good. I'm good on that. Like I don't want that at all. Which is probably why I won't get.
Did you ever see that?
It's almost impossible to avoid it. Go ahead.
What's that movie? What's that show on Netflix? They do the weekly, the Black Mirror, Black Window.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
There's a whole episode about that with what's his name from Marvel, plays the black guy that plays in Marvel, not T'Challa.
The black guy. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the black guy. There's only like 3.
There's a lot of black dudes.
I'm just joking, man. He plays Captain America's guy.
The black Captain America.
Anthony Mackie.
Yeah.
He's in it. He's in that show, in that episode.
Yeah, I'm straight on all that, bro.
Wild.
I'm straight on all that for sure. Also in NBA stuff, man. Drew Eubanks got his ass knocked out by Beef Stew. What an appropriate nickname. Hey, man, it's power in names, man. The Bible told us so, you know. Isaiah Stewart goes by the nickname of Beef Stew. Fired on Drew Eubanks for some reason. It got real. It got criminal. Like, the police got involved real fast. And I don't really know the details of it. It's under investigation. Go find some more Josh Giddey stuff while y'all investigating, man.
Yeah, man.
Go find some more Miles Bridges stuff while y'all are at it. Why not, you know? So, yeah, like I said, Isaiah Stewart punched Drew Eubanks in the face. Wild shit, man. It happened before the game. And Phoenix is saying it's unprovoked. The Detroit side is saying there was something that is under. They got video of it.
They got video.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Monty Williams comes out. All right, which punch is going to be worse? Draymond versus Jordan or Isaiah versus Drew Eubanks? Because we got to see the Draymond versus Jordan stuff.
Isaiah Stewart, like, he got hands,
bro. I wouldn't mess with that man.
That dude tried to fight LeBron. That dude tried to fight the King. Yeah, I don't think I want no parts of fighting Isaiah Stewart. And that dude won't get another NBA deal.
You don't think so?
That kind of stuff can get you a bad.
He ain't good enough. He ain't good enough to do that nonsense, man.
I like him. He's a big burly dude. That's the type of dude I wouldn't mind seeing beside Jaren. But
Could you imagine?
You can't be out there punching dudes in the face, man. Not like that. Like, not to the point where it's like, yeah, we just arrested this dude. Like, that's a whole different type of energy than like
This ain't a situation where it's like, hey, it's on the basketball court. These dudes are, getting into it in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
That was in a back tunnel at the arena. Somebody in the Discord was like, why would you do that at a basketball game? And I was like, that ain't at a basketball game. That's at a basketball arena.
Yeah.
Like,
that's off the clock.
That's assault, bro.
Yeah, you're going down, man, on that for sure. And speaking of going down, speaking of assault, speaking of getting hit in the face, speaking of all that, weird situation last night between the Golden State Warriors and Phoenix Suns.
Man,
Draymond Green got elbowed in the face by somebody. I can't remember who it was, and was laid out in the middle of the court. I mean, in the basket, in the paint, bro. He was laid out in the paint for at least 3 or 4 possessions. So I'm like, what am I watching, bro? I'm like, how is nobody calling timeout on either side? Referees coming in. I've seen dudes just kind of fall, and like refs call timeout because somebody's injury timeout or this dude's just in the way or whatever. Draymond Green was laid out in the paint, bro, for 3 or 4 possessions. I'm like, okay, is this real? Like, what am I watching, bro? And it was the weirdest thing in the world that nobody called timeout. Klay Thompson looked down at him and kept playing. They went back up and down the court at least 2 or 3 more times.
Easily. It was crazy.
I was like, what is this shit, man?
Crazy.
Bro, that was some wild shit for sure between the Warriors and the Phoenix Suns, man, with Draymond Green laid out on the court, bro, and nobody stopped the game.
What is it with the Suns and the Warriors, man?
I said I was done talking about Draymond Green. And him and Nurkic got into it the other day.
They hate each other, man.
I'm like, bro, what the hell, bro? Bro, Draymond Green lives in a totally different NBA world than the rest of the players, bro. He's out. Did he like zoned out, was doing some weird shit on the sideline?
Yeah, like he was saying, like he started holding up the 4 rings and then was like, I don't even want to say what he said.
Bro, Draymond Green may be an alien. He may not be. He may be from another planet. And I think the NBA knows it. I think they know they're dealing with somebody that's not human. He might be a Nephilim. Or somebody. Like, for real, man. Like, okay, like, you remember they had that Draymond interview where he blanked out?
No.
Where they say he glitched. They was like he was a AI, like a robot glitch or something. You saw that?
Stop it. No way. What happened?
Look it up on YouTube during the break.
I will.
Look up Draymond glitch. Look up Draymond interview glitch. Like, there was a post-game interview and his face froze for like 30 seconds. Like, no breathing. He just sat there just still face for about 30 seconds, staring off into nothing. And people was like, yep, he's an alien. He's not even real.
How close is Draymond to losing his TNT gig after he
because it seems like he's got one. He seems like he's
it's signed. It's officially signed.
Oh, he'll be all right, man. I ain't gonna lie, Draymond entertained the shit to me, bro.
Oh,
okay. If he wanted to play his last years here, I would not be mad. I would say, Derrick Rose, get your ass up out of here.
No way. Poor Derrick Rose, man.
Poor Derrick Rose, man. Also, number 2, ladies, women's college basketball. Caitlin Clark, who's probably one of the better women's players you've ever seen ever. Just a man. And you talk about, Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson.
I mean, just a bucket, bro.
Oh, she is Larry Bird in that equation, man. Like, she's cold. Like, for real cold, bro. Like, for real cold, bro. Like, Caitlin Clark, she's 8 points away from being the all-time women's scorer in college basketball history. And she's only 147 points away from being the highest scorer in NCAA all-time, men or women, passing Pistol Pete Maravich's record. And heard a lot of people talking about this on the radio today, and I had to, I applied my same realism to this, right? And this isn't a shot at Caitlin Clark at all. This is really unfortunate because there's no reason why Caitlin Clark should still be playing college basketball, right? But then it's sad that there's no incentive to leave early. Like literally get a pay cut going to the WNBA because these ladies have these endorsement deals, which I'm sure a lot of those could convert over once they're playing the WNBA or whatever. But some of this NIL stuff is just like, help me out. Like, I want to be careful what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it's like it's fun based. Like it's money that not particularly connected to an endorsement. It's like
it's supposed to be.
Yeah, leave that alone. But yeah, right? So you got that going on, right? So
I will say this. Can I say this?
Go ahead.
The Memphis Basketball Collective does not work that way.
All right, so how does the Memphis joint work?
If you got to do work to get paid.
They do have obligations, yeah. I know that.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure. I didn't want anybody to think that's what I was implying.
No, that's not.
I know that.
That's happening in other schools.
Yeah.
But not at Memphis.
Right. So, but she would lose in any deal like that, a collective like that. But as far as endorsement deals,
I think those things transfer.
It depends on what it is, though.
I mean, it's Caitlin Clark. She's getting national stuff.
She not particularly her, right? But I'm sure there are ladies that are playing college basketball that aren't stars. They got some hellified, they aren't like future NBA stars, WNBA stars. They're getting like hellified NIL deals. They're making more than the ladies in the WNBA.
Oh, without a doubt.
I guarantee you that's happening. And there's no incentive to go to the WNBA, right? So it's like you got a Caitlin Clark who's gonna blast every record because she's not supposed to be there. That lady is supposed to be gone at least last year. You know what I mean? So she's about to bust that record. And I heard people talking about, man, that Pistol Pete Maravich record's been here for so long. Pistol Pete Maravich is another dude who didn't play with black people.
So if NBA didn't start till 85, when did college basketball start?
Hey, bro, I've seen Glory Road. I saw Glory Road. I saw what black dudes gonna take 2 shots a game type shit. Only one per team. Like, you know what I mean?
When it broke the newspapers, they had 5 black players.
They got 5 black starters
at UTSA.
The pre-black people era. Oh man, you telling me that Kevin Durant would have demolished that dude's record if he played 4 years of college basketball? You telling me Mike Beasley would Derrick Rose would have mutilated that dude's record, man?
Oh my God, yes, that's so funny, man.
Like, yeah, dudes.
Everybody holds up Pistol Pete like he's that guy, and I'm like, bro,
nobody plays 4 years of college basketball, bro. You know what I mean? Like that record's gonna last forever. Well, it ain't now because Caitlin Clark's about to take a piss on it. But I'm just saying, like, that's why that record's been around that long. Dudes go pro, bro. Like, you got black dudes now. Like, we gone. We getting out of here, man. We not giving 4 years to the old ball club. You know what I mean? To good old LSU. We ain't giving 4 years to them. We getting the hell up out of there for sure.
That's so funny, man.
Yeah, man. So shout out to Caitlin Clark, man. The GOAT, man. She's about to be the college basketball all-time leading scorer, men or women. She's gonna get the women record tonight. She's averaging like 30 a game. So
she'll get it.
Clearly, she'll get 8. She'll get that in the first few minutes of the game.
She will.
I think she's gonna.
I think you can ball out.
How much of that 147 is she gonna knock out? I bet she gets that 147 down to double digits.
Ooh.
I bet she gets about 50 tonight.
Dogger, she gets 50. God.
I bet she get 50.
She's so nasty.
I bet that 147 that must be 98 tonight. or whatever. Hey, I guarantee you, she gonna knock that joint down to single digits for sure. Also, man, another big story. Number 3 on the 3-pointer today. College football, NCAA football, EA Sports 25 is coming out very soon. I've got a lot of questions about this, man.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I put this out on Twitter because they said, and about the elephant in the room. I said, oh shit, the elephant in the room is players. Like, are you gonna have the real players on here, right? That's my elephant in the room.
Right.
They started talking about people saying, oh, this is fake, it ain't never coming out. Like, nah, they ain't the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room are the players gonna be on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they showed this screenshot, this guy, hold on, because I saved that bad boy. They got this screenshot, right? That says, it's a jersey getting stitched on, right? And it says, yeah, it's really happening. I don't know if you can see it, but it says, yeah, it's really happening across the nameplate, right? So I'm like, damn, they're going to have the player. I think that's like saying, it's kind of like a little Easter egg. We're going to have real player names in there, they So then this guy was like, oh, man, they already got that taken care of. And Bryson, a good friend, Bryson from Bluff City Media, he says, oh, yeah, man, they've been announced that the player's going to be in there. They've been announced that. I'm like, okay. And then one guy's like, yeah, man, it's NIL. Like, every player's going to get $1,000 for that. I'm like, okay, that can't be that cut and dry, bro. Because if I'm like, I don't know shit about college football, right? But like if I'm Rock Taylor, like, no, you ain't giving me $1,000. I'll take $20,000. I'll take $50,000. I'll take $1 million. Like, you're not gonna sell these games and people playing with Rock Taylor. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I would be.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not like they didn't, because if it's an NIL deal, that means that like all whatever 10,000 college football players have like agreed to the deal, right? So I'm like, how are they making that part work?
I honestly, this is where, I mean, this
you
is
get what I'm saying, all right?
No, 100%.
All right.
Can there be a lump sum? Like, is Caleb Williams going to get paid the same as
$1,000? Like, hell no, I don't want that shit. No, I'm not going to be in the game. Don't put me in there. You're not giving me $1,000 for my name.
That might, and listen, that everybody can sit there and say, I'll take that 1,000, but I guarantee you they're doing behind the scenes work with like Caleb. They're doing deals with Caleb.
But how many? But look at how many dudes that would be though. Ken.
I know it'd be a lot, but that's a lot of money.
Because if I'm like anybody, I'm saying no. My name is worth more than $1,000. I've got a $400,000 NIL deal.
Right.
Like you're not going to put my name in a game that's the most anticipated sports video game in the last 10 years. You're not going to put me in that game for $1,000. Like, you're going to have to give me more than that. Now, if I'm just some Joe Blow kid on the school,
I'll take that $1,000.
Yeah, you're happy for it. Or 5 years ago, it would have made sense. Yeah, $1,000, hell yeah. But no, like, I don't see how that's working. Like, I don't think that's true, man. I just don't think that's true information.
I mean, I guess we'll find out if they're on the game or not, right?
I think what's going to happen is this, and this is really all they need to do. If they could just have it where you can put your own rosters on there, put your own names on there, the Nerds are going to have their roster filled in 24 hours. Like, I'm telling you, it's going to have every real player and a real-looking face on there in 24, 48 hours. The Nerds are going to get together and say, hey, you do the SEC. You do the Big Ten. You do the Big 12.
How does that work with, let me ask you this, how does it work with 2K?
What you mean?
How does it work with the licensing rights for 2K? Do they have to go to every single player in the NBA and sign a licensing agreement?
It's part of being the NBA Players Association.
So that's dealt with the Players Association.
That's why guys who retired, they disappear from the game. Like Marc Gasol won't be on NBA 2K unless he does an individual deal with 2K.
Okay, so that's how that works. Okay.
Yep.
Huh. Will college football unionize? No, I don't know.
No, but seriously though, like,
I get it.
Everybody's gonna be in there. Like, how? Like, you telling me everybody they're gonna pay these dudes? Like, everybody's not gonna agree to that.
No, I agree. I think you'll absolutely see certain players not in it, or just behind the scenes they're getting a lot more money.
I think it's gonna be. I think that game's gonna come out looking kind of weird. I think when it comes out, there's gonna be a lot of kids who are in there, right? Their name's gonna be in there, right? And there's gonna be a lot of guys who are gonna be QB1, and you gotta go in there and make QB1 Caleb Williams. I think it's gonna be a lot of that type of stuff. Yeah, it has to be, bro. Like, if I'm a marginally good player, you're paying me more than $1,000 to be in this game.
I guarantee you they've been dealing with this forever. Because this game's been rumored for a while.
Is there an NCAA union though?
No,
is there not a union, but like, is there like a collection of players? Like, if you're a part of this, you have to, I don't know, man.
No, there's not.
I don't know how that all works out at all. Then here's my thing: will they have real faces on there?
I mean, if they get licensing agreements for their names, they'll probably do name, image, and likeness.
I'm gonna tell you what'd be dope as hell, bro. And I doubt the game's gonna do this, but this would be so damn dope. If the players could upload their own faces to the game.
Oh my god!
And then you just have this server field of like all the real players. Like, hey, here's your link. Like they shoot a link out to every school, right? And then the school like, here's your roster, and the players like you get their phone and like scan their own faces in, and you look up on the game, and like over time, all these players start uploading their stuff.
That'd be wild.
And you get like the real. It won't look like super good, but it could be dope if you could get some. You know, if Gabe Kuhn could put himself on the 2000 whatever year, 2017 Tigers. You know what I mean? Like I wonder if it could get to that point with technology, because as just a consumer of the game, you can upload your face in there and do the face scan thing, right? So I wonder if they could do something like that with EA Sports, where the college players could upload their own faces up there.
It's going to be so interesting to me because like the normal college football games have never been super clear, super.
Oh, this is gonna be nasty, bro.
You think it's gonna be that? You think
PS5 and yeah, man, it's gonna be that shit gonna look good, bro.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna have. I don't know, man. I might. I don't know if they're gonna have the coaches like licensing, like with the real coaches on there.
Yeah.
Because what I used to do back in the day is I would play with like on the College Hoops 2K8, which is the best college basketball game ever. 2K8, College Hoops 2K8. I would take Calipari in Memphis because Calipari's recruiting grade was like an A+. So he could go out and go sign anybody, right? Or I would make myself and I'd go to like a small school and I'd build that team up. I would do both of them.
So you would take the role on as a kind of like in 2K, you can become like the GM of a team. You can do all that.
Yeah.
Would you take the role of like a coach? And
yeah, I'd be Coach Prime. I'd be Coach Prime and go and get that thing the way it's supposed to. If they got the real, you know that dude ain't taking no $1,000. No. I'd do that, and I'd do a joint with. I'd do Memphis for sure. I'd get the Tigers and just be Ryan Silverfield. No, I'd fire Ryan Silverfield, and I'd just take the Memphis job. I'd make myself. I'd turn myself into Ryan Silverfield. And I'd get this thing right. Oh man, it's gonna have like.
Yeah,
it's gonna have like it's probably gonna have like all the Tiger jerseys,
stadium, the jerseys and stadium.
The black. Ooh, like, what do they got the new stadium on that jersey?
What do they got the new stadium on that thing?
It's gonna be too
with
soon.
all them Tiger jerseys, man. Come on,
it's gonna be nasty. Because on the old game, you had the blue joints and the white joints.
Yeah, right.
And I think you had the blue and the white.
Yeah.
I wish I hope they have like all the jerseys, bro.
I'm hearing
or like jersey updates throughout the season. That'd be dope as hell.
I'm hearing they might be rebranding.
Who, the Tigers?
The football jerseys.
What you mean they rebrand every year?
Getting new ones.
Talking about it's a base joint.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Hey, them folks. Hey, if you whatever you say, Tiger football has a hard ass jersey uniform.
They did.
And helmets. That should be hard.
In 2017, 18, 19.
Too nasty.
They were nasty.
Now them folks were too clean.
Got a little old at this point for me.
Yeah.
But
them folks too nasty with it. But yeah, man. But I tell you what, Kenny, we about to take a break, man. When we come back, we're gonna go inside the same brain here on the Enter the Same Show. See you guys in a minute.
Zaire and Jake is definitely a hard sell. But what happens here is the Pistons, who have no intention of winning games, clearly, I don't know, have they won their third yet? I'm sure they have. They are not in a position to compete, so they're just going to build up assets. And so what you do is you attach picks to that, and then you send it over, and then they see if maybe they can get something out of Zaire or Jake, whoever they might take. But the real return for them is the picks, right? Just like when we traded for Iguodala, the return was for picks. We didn't want Iguodala. He clearly didn't want us. So we just got picks out of it. It'd be the same thing for a Detroit or for another team in that scenario. So Grizzlies get off of the contracts. Then the Pistons, in this situation is what's been rumored, get some assets out of it. And then potentially you get a reclamation project that actually works out, which does happen every once in a while. Lauri Markkanen, once upon a time, was a very disappointing draft pick. Not very disappointing, but disappointing, at least a little bit.
Tune in to the Grizz 901 postgame show, live after every Grizzlies game on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
David Roddy on like extreme circumstances, which he was awful against the Cavs last night. But anyway,
he's still young though. I'm
still
still
I know y'all are.
I'm
not, man. Move that dude. He does not need to be a Grizz next year, and neither does
I'm not
or Zaire.
like,
get them dudes out of here.
I'm not nailing him to the floor, but he is head and shoulders above. I mean, he is. I'd rather have him than a lot of people.
No, dude, get Roddy out of here. That dude's a bum. He's a 6'4"
You've done
center.
This before,
I've never been a Roddy fan.
And you've been absolutely wrong before.
Was I though? Because he's not an NBA player. Yeah, he had a streak after I said that. He's not.
You're picking the wrong hill to die on here.
I'm just telling you, man.
But my point is you can die on this hill if you want to, but it's not a take that is bold enough for you to die. Like we all could. You don't know. And nor do I know. The book
There's
is
a large enough sample size. There's a large enough sample size. That dude is not an NBA player.
That dude makes things happen. I want people that are active who make winning plays. Teams need players. No, I'm going to finish. Teams need players that make hustle plays. That guy has it in spades. He is the guy that you want in your corner.
Tune in to the $2 Sports Show with Rusty Witten and Drew Gann every Friday at 3 p.m. only on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Let's talk about the salary cap going into the deadline. The Grizzlies obviously moved Adams last week, but now they are sitting at $173 million next year. That is $2 million over the salary cap, the luxury tax. That's in the first there. That would put them in the first apron. That is without Luke Kennard, though. His opt-in at 14.7. And the second apron is at 191. The reason they did the Adams trade was to take the $9 million of Oladipo's contract into this year. They're coming off the books next year. And there are a lot of things you are not allowed to do when you're in the second apron. It restricts the way you can sign players, how you can trade players, lots of restrictions. And it also just comes with a big tax bill. Just know that they're not going to go into the second apron.
Tune in to The Daily Grind with Mark King and Lute Hatmaker at 1 p.m. every Monday through Friday live on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Anthony Sain Show. It's time for Inside the Same Brain. This one's different, man. I typically talk about something that's going on in current events and my thoughts on it. This is literally just some random shit that crossed my mind today, man. Kenny Stubblefield, me and you about the same age, right?
Yep.
Are you familiar with the film that we were little kids when it came out, the movie Teen Wolf, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'm not talking about this weird-ass TV show, Teen Wolf, but the actual
Michael
J.
Fox was in it. Yep.
Teen Wolf, right? All right. There was a very interesting theory that was thrown out by Amin El Hassan, who's
former ESPN.
Yeah, former like Phoenix Suns front office guy, something like that.
What's he doing now?
I don't know. I don't know. I think I don't even see him on Twitter no more. He's also famous for the so-and-so player from the past is not walking through that door.
Right.
Like, for instance, when the Grizzlies beat Houston last night, he would say Robert Horry ain't walking through that door, or Hakeem Olajuwon ain't walking through that door. Clyde Drexler. He was known for saying those type of things when it came down to sports. That was kind of his thing. But he threw out this very interesting theory when it came down to Teen Wolf. And the way he said it, man, with so much confidence, I was like, shit, man. Like, I kind of believe it. I kind of believe that shit. You know, that kind of makes a lot of sense, right? Mm-hmm. So he said that Teen Wolf, the story of Teen Wolf is about a kid who's kind of a awkward, just kind of your middle of the road high school student, right? Like he's not really a nerd, not really one of the cool kids, just kind of the middle of the road kid, right? Closer to being a nerd than being a popular kid. But you know, he's got a pretty female friend of his. He kind of hangs out with the cool guy who's the party guy. That's his buddy too. But he's not really like a upper echelon popular kid. It's kind of like a middle, the everyday kid, like you can kind of relate to, right? So Michael J. Fox plays that character. The kid finds out that he's a werewolf, that he's got werewolf in his family, and he instantly turns into the most popular guy at the school. He develops the ability to play basketball, and he is, you know, sort of, right? And he's like, you know, super popular dude now, right? And it just kind of tells that story. Amin El Hassan threw out the theory that movie is not about being a werewolf, Kenny Stubblefield. He said that movie is an allegory of becoming a black person in a white school. And I was like, shit. Amin El Hassan. I looked into it, right?
Tell me that didn't pique your interest.
Yeah, of course it did. I said, what do you mean? That sounds crazy. And he presented points. And I was like, all right, bro, like you're 100% right. Like I 100% agree with you. And throughout time, there have been movies that have been these type of metaphoric, allegorical films, right? Or just stories. One that comes to mind is the X-Men, right? The X-Men, the characters of Magneto and Professor Xavier are allegorical characters to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Like that's like known. Like those characters were based off of those two gentlemen, and their different approaches to kind of get us to the same place, right? And a lot of stuff that was in X-Men was comparative to the civil rights movement. Like if you really look into what was going on. The movie Planet of the Apes has also been given some of those type of things where the apes represented just minorities in general, or just a lesser man, right? And how if you keep doing these people this way, they're going to come together and take over shit. Like that's a lot of people have said that that's what Planet of the Apes really was about, right? And how if you don't protect resources. The movie The Wizard of Oz has been given allegorical credit to some of the things that were going on as far as, I don't know, war or something that was going on, like something between the Russians or something with Wizard of Oz, right? So Amin El Hassan, he breaks down Teen Wolf, right? With the allegorical moments of Scott, the Michael J. Fox character, not becoming a werewolf, but actually becoming a black man.
Do you think Michael J. Fox knew that?
I don't know. Well, let me present what Amin El Hassan was saying, right? He says, all right, when he becomes a werewolf, right, the first thing that happens is he instantly becomes really cool. Then he learns that he becomes very good at basketball.
Check.
Kenny Stubblefield. There's a scene where he gets with this girl and he has a bigger penis than he had before.
Check.
All right. It's often said that black men have bigger penises than white people. All right. He becomes super. He's into he starts talking jive and hip hop, and he's walking around with the big boom box, and he's doing all this kind of walking and talking in the hallway. He becomes a super cool, blackish, hip hop-ish individual, right? You got to ding that one too, man. That's a ding, right?
Check.
That's a ding for his argument, right? The white dude who's a star basketball player of the team, if you notice, there weren't many black people in that school either, right?
Right.
All right, that's a ding. So he turns to this character like everybody looks like, okay, oh, it's the new guy. He's super cool, right? So, but the white boy who was the best player on the team, it kind of feels away that this werewolf kid is like all of a sudden the best player, right? So he tries to get him fired up, and when he gets fired up and they see him get angry, they're like, oh shit, like we can't really, the werewolf ain't who we thought he was, right? So they do the whole angry black man thing with him. So I'm like, shit, Amin El Hassan, like you kind of on to some shit.
That's funny.
And I'm like, bro, like if you go back and watch that movie and say, all right, I'm gonna watch this movie all over again, but I'm gonna pretend that he like all of a sudden turned black. It'll make so much more sense, bro.
Get you fired up. Let's go.
I'm telling you, bro. If you watch that movie and say, hey, ignore the fact that he's a werewolf. Let's just say that he turned into a black man. It works, bro. It 100% works for sure, man. But that's my inside the same brain thought. Go watch Teen Wolf High.
It sounds like to me,
bro. If you go back and watch that movie, or just go back and think about that movie was not about that dude turning into a werewolf. It was telling the story of what if a kid like went to because that was like an upper class school,
right?
What if you like drop like this black kid in the school? What would it be like? Or basically the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air type story, right? You know what I mean? Which Fresh Prince of Bel-Air had a lot of parallels to Teen Wolf as well. If you go back and look at that whole thing, it's very interesting to think about when what he was saying. But that's all I got, bro.
Sounds to me like Amin El Hassan might suffer from the same affliction that you do.
I got a little glaucoma.
You got a little glaucoma.
Like, man, shit, that's a black dude. That ain't no goddamn wolf. Why is meat getting bigger? The Red Wolves got big dicks or something.
That was it for him. When that scene happened, he's like,
why is me get bigger, bro?
He took a big old hit and was like,
yeah, man, yeah, that's hey.
His dick got big.
Yeah, why did dick get big? Oh man. Oh shit, man. But that's all I got, bro. Shout out to my man Shawn Coleman, man, aka Hillbilly Harrington. Shout out to the real Chris Harrington as well, whoever you doing out there, Chris Harrington, my boy. Take care of yourself. But yeah, man, for Kenny Stumphill behind the glass, man, this is Anthony Sain. We'll see you guys next time, man, and we out.
Thank you for listening to the Anthony Sain Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next week.